California Adventure might be the most interesting Disney park out there, at least in my opinion. I have very complicated relationships with every single land at California Adventure. Me and this park go way back. I was born not too long after this park opened, so it kind of feels like California Adventure and I have grown up together, you know? Like, we both changed a lot over the years. There are 8 themed lands that we're going to talk about in this video, and we're going to rank them up from worst to best. Before we get started, please like this video. Please let me know what your favorite themed area of California Adventure is down in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this park. And of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We are pushing for 10,000 subscribers, so I would greatly appreciate your support. Before we get started, I do have to mention that unlike my ranking of every single land at Disneyland, I will be including the entrance area for this park. Part of that is because of California Adventure has less lands than Disneyland, and I want to make this feel like a full complete list. And if you'd like to talk about Disneyland, go ahead and check out that video that I just mentioned where we ranked every single land at that wonderful park. Just like in that video, we will be ranking these lands based on 4 different categories, including attractions, food options, atmosphere, and theming. At the end of the video, we'll break down all 4 categories and rank up every land based on each individual category. So let's dig into California Adventure right now. Starting things off with by far the least exciting land at Disney California Adventure, we have number 8, San Francisco Square. So this was the most recent land at California Adventure to receive a refresh of any kind, and before it was San Francisco Square, this area of the park was called Pacific Wharf. So this area is very unique for a Disney park, at least in the 2 California parks. This is the only park that's just a food court, which is very, very interesting. It's only one of 3 lands to not have any attractions at the Disneyland Resort, and the other 2 are the entrance areas. So this one is kind of an anomaly. I did prefer Pacific Wharf to San Francisco Square. I do like what they did with the bridge. It has a lot more personality now. This kind of leads to a broader discussion about all of California Adventure, but for the old DCA 1.0 and even 2.0, when you were walking from the front entrance to the pier area, you would have that vista view of the pier in the background for a very long time. Because DCA doesn't have like a clear, straight main street. Like, the spine of the park is curved. So when you're walking up that walkway, the pier is kind of like the thing drawing you to that side of the park, you know? So when you walk along that curved walkway, you can see it for a really long time before you get there. And now with the new bridge design, it's in the way of the pier. So I view it as both a pro and a con. It's kind of a con because it's like, how does any of this have anything to do with anything California? But it's also a pro because it gives the park a lot more personality than just that generic blue bridge. But I also did like how that blue bridge tied into the history of earthquakes in California, obviously. If you still stop on the bridge while people are walking over it, you can kind of feel it shake, and it's supposed to be like a mini earthquake simulator, which is kind of cool. And obviously the Pacific Wharf section of the park had a much more deep connection to the California roots of the park. Like, there are a couple buildings themed to Monterey Bay, and a lot of that is still there. Like, it's literally the same restaurants, and they just slapped Big Hero 6 on top of it, but it's still called San Francisco, and San Francisco is in the state of California, if you didn't know. So I don't know. To me, it just feels like a mixed bag, and I'm not terribly passionate about it because it is a food court. There's no attractions, and it's a pretty small land, but I do enjoy the food offerings in this corner of the park. So in terms of our categories, obviously San Francisco Square is going to be tied last in terms of attractions because it has no attractions. In terms of food, it'll be number 1 because that's the entire purpose of the land. If we take a look at atmosphere, I ranked it last. The Big Hero 6 theming does feel kind of cheap, and like the music, that's another big contributor to atmosphere, is pretty annoying. It's really not my thing. Like, especially because when you're eating food, you're going to be listening to that soundtrack for a decent period of time, like maybe up to an hour, and it's just kind of grating. I don't find it enjoyable, so that means a weaker atmosphere ranking. And in terms of theming, it'll rank at number 6. Because it is pretty cohesive. I do appreciate that. The bridge is definitely the staple in terms of theming. That's probably the biggest investment they put into San Francisco Square. And the rest of it, like, it's not as egregious as a couple other re-themes that Disney has done over the years. Like, at least Big Hero 6 on top of Pacific Wharf makes a little more sense than Pixar on top of Paradise Pier. it could have been done a little better, but I don't think it was god awful, you know? So overall, it's solid. My biggest criticism is definitely the music and the fact that there's no attractions. I don't know if this land will ever get an attraction because there's like no space to put an attraction, but that would be really cool to see one day, especially because Big Hero 6 is a franchise that I think deserves an attraction. So that would be really, really nice. Moving on to number 7, we're gonna have Buena Vista Street. So this is the second land at California Adventure that does not have an attraction because it is the park's entrance area. I remember way back when, before DCA's massive overhaul, this was Sunshine Plaza, which I just had to look up the name because I forgot what it was. And I am nostalgic for that. I miss the sun and the little water fountain that it had in front of the sun and the Golden Gate Bridge and all the tacky California memorabilia like throughout it. Like it had those massive California lettering in front of the entrance to the park. Like I'm nostalgic for that. But Buena Vista Street is definitely much nicer. It's much more of a grand entrance, I would say. It's 100% less tacky, that's for sure. And I think it's a better match for Main Street right across from it. To some extent, Buena Vista Street is kind of just Main Street light. Obviously, it's a lot shorter, but it does kind of have that similar vibe. Like it's a very clean, very well kept area. Like the buildings are all white, so it's very pristine. It's just a pleasant area to be in. I do appreciate the water fountain in like the quote unquote hub of DCA, and obviously you have the Carthay Circle Theater, which is a restaurant for the park. That is a sit-down restaurant. I think I've only been once, and that was maybe like 10 years ago, so I barely remember that place. Actually, you know what? I've been more recently than that. I just completely lied to you. Because it is a Disney park, obviously you have all your park amenities in the entrance area. You got the guest services, you got restrooms, you got lockers, all that, and of course you have the gift shops. You got a Starbucks, you got an ice cream place. It's perfect for DCA in my opinion. So in terms of attractions, it is tied last with San Francisco Square because there are none. There's not even like a train station like Main Street has. In terms of food, I rank the 6th. I have no memory of the food at Carthay Circle, but the ice cream place is nice and having a Starbucks is always nice. I'm not a coffee person though, so. In terms of atmosphere, like I said, I really appreciate it. I ranked it 4 out of 8. It's got a good energy just walking into the land. Something I did forget to mention is the red car trolley was recently removed because they're starting construction on the Avengers e-ticket next to Mission Breakout, and that's where the backstage infrastructure for the red car trolley used to be. But they did put one of the red car trolleys back in front near the park's entrance, so now it's just like a prop, I guess, but it's kind of strange to just have a carcass of a ride vehicle just sitting there. So I find it kind of amusing, but I'm sure as the years pass, that'll probably just become part of the park. You won't even give it a second thought. Or maybe they'll bring back the red car trolleys. I don't know what their plan is, but we'll see, I guess. But either way, I still appreciate the atmosphere. In terms of theming, I actually ranked it 3rd. As I said, I think this is a really pristine and well-kept area of the park, so I really, really, really enjoy it, even if I am nostalgic for the tacky postcard aesthetic that Sunshine Plaza was going for. I'm a big fan of both. I appreciate both for obviously very different reasons. But Buena Vista Street is definitely a very, very strong entrance area. But just by nature of being an entrance area, you're gonna rank towards the bottom of the list. It plays its role very, very well, so I do appreciate that. Moving on to number 6. If you turn left after walking down Buena Vista Street, you will enter Hollywoodland, which is a very similar aesthetic to Buena Vista Street. It's a much bigger area of the park, and honestly I'm planning to make a full in-depth review video for this corner of California Adventure. It's a very interesting land. Like I think that walkway from Carthay Circle all the way down to the Hyperion Theater is very, very nice. It's very well kept, just like Buena Vista Street. It's pleasant to be in my opinion. But if you take a few steps to your left towards the only attraction in the land, which is Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue, the Hollywood backlot, by far the ugliest corner of the Disneyland resort in my opinion. It is bad, bad, bad. It's real bad. There's ads plastered on a whole bunch of the sound stages. The fact that there are sound stages isn't great. They converted Muppet Vision 3D into some like Frozen sing-along, and then it played movie trailers for a while, and these days it is Philhar Magic. I've only done it like 2 or 3 times. I think it's a one and done. Like, it's a lower quality Disney attraction. It's definitely old, but the animatronic Donald Duck at the end is kind of cute. But other than that, it's not really worth talking about. The Hollywood backlot is pretty much the hub for any seasonal event that Disney wants to promote. So it's for that reason, it has a very cheap and like low-key corporate atmosphere. It's just like whatever Disney wants to do, whatever they're trying to sell to you, they'll put it back there in the Hollywood backlot. But the heart of Hollywoodland is that one street. I think it's called Hollywood Boulevard. I really like that street. Even though it's no longer Tower of Terror and it's no longer part of Hollywoodland, turning that corner and seeing Mission Breakout is one of the most impressive reveals for any theme park ever. I absolutely love it. That's a very imposing structure, and obviously back in the day when it was themed to a 1930s Hollywood hotel, that made a lot of sense, but these days it's just I don't know. That's kind of a discussion about DCA as a whole in terms of sightlines and storytelling compared to Hollywoodland itself. DCA is a very, very interesting park, which is why I've made so many videos about this place. It's 100% a mixed bag, but in terms of Hollywoodland, the big building at the end of the street is the Hyperion Theater. These days it's empty. When the park first opened, they were playing that Aladdin show for the longest time, and then it was Frozen for the longest time, and then relatively recently they had that brief Rogers a Musical thing, and then I think they held the Haunted Mansion movie premiere there, and then since then it's been empty. So it's a little shallow. In terms of Hollywood Boulevard itself, you have Disney Junior Live, which was a cute show. Back in my day, I think it was Disney Channel Live or something like that. I don't even remember. But I spent a lot of hours in there when I was a kid. The restrooms in Hollywoodland are probably some of the worst restrooms in the entire resort. So that's some points against Hollywoodland. You also have the Animation Academy. I love the Animation Academy. It's a big air-conditioned room. You have Turtle Talk with Crush in there, which is absolutely spectacular. You also have meet and greets with Anna and Elsa. I'm not a meet and greet character person, so I've never done that, and I don't care to do it. But the big cool thing is that you can like draw a Disney character with a Disney artist. That's so much fun. I've done that a handful of times. I love doing it. If the park is packed, and you just need a break from the weather, doing that is a great option. Back to attractions, the only ride in Hollywoodland is the Monsters Inc. ride, which we mentioned. I really don't like this ride. I think it's really bad. I think it's one of Disney's worst ones. Like, it is a re-theme of Superstar Limo, which was a complete disaster. Superstar Limo was before my day, but I never liked Monsters Inc. even when I was a kid. And now that I know what it was before and how some of the animatronics were just reskinned, I find that really unsettling. And plus, you have this one section here where they just straight up blind you, which is straight up unpleasant. The other animatronics aren't great. It retells the story of the movie. So Monsters Inc. 100% deserves a better ride, which it's gonna get at Hollywood Studios in Florida. And it seems like the future of Hollywoodland is very much in question. I believe most people think that the Avatar expansion for California Adventure is going to replace Hollywoodland. And in my opinion, that's 100% gonna be a good thing. Because Hollywoodland is probably one of Disney's weakest themed areas, while Pandora, the world of Avatar at Animal Kingdom is one of my favorite themed areas of all time. Probably my favorite. Probably number one. It's real close. I love spending time in Pandora at Animal Kingdom. So I'm not gonna miss Hollywoodland if it does bite the dust at some point going forward. If Disney was gonna save Hollywoodland, they would have put Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in this area of the park instead of in Toontown. But because that attraction went to Toontown, I think Disney chose to save Toontown instead of Hollywoodland, and in my opinion, that was the correct decision. Hollywoodland is probably at its potential. It's probably as good as it's ever gonna get if you just delete the backlot. But Toontown is incredible now. I love Toontown these days. So let's run through these rankings. In terms of attractions, if you couldn't guess, Hollywoodland ranks 6 out of 8, which is the lowest ranking land that has an attraction. In terms of food, I don't eat in Hollywoodland that often. I actually had to try the award wieners restaurant because I had not eaten there in years and years before making this video, and I thought it was fine. I had a chili dog. It had a lot of bread, and obviously it was really overpriced. So it was fine. It was good. I guess I enjoyed it. They also have the catering company in the back lot, which from what I remember has like a seasonal menu, so it's changing all the time. From what I remember, I think it's pretty good. In terms of atmosphere, Hollywoodland ranks 5 out of 8. I think it's pretty good. The biggest detractor in terms of atmosphere is, of course, the backlot. The backlot is awful. I can't reiterate that enough. And in terms of theming, I actually put Hollywoodland at 4 out of 8. I think it's really well kept. Like, the whole Michael Eisner philosophy was that they could still make a cheap theme park immersive if they chose themes that were easy to make immersive, and I feel like Hollywood, a land theme to Hollywood, is 100% an easier theme to make immersive compared to Pandora, the World of Avatar, for example. So I do think it's pretty immersive, aside from the backlot. Moving on to number 5, we're gonna talk about the bane of my existence. It's Pixar Pier. One of my most popular videos on this channel is my review video for Pixar Pier. I 100% tear it to shreds, so I'm gonna try not to go too in-depth with it today, but I hate it. I think it was a really, 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 really bad decision, and they executed it very, very poorly. So that's like the worst combination of circumstances you could have. And you throw on top of that the fact that Paradise Pier was my favorite land at both parks. It was my favorite land at the Disneyland Resort, so Paradise Pier no longer exists, which makes me really sad. Pixar Pier sucks, in my opinion. Paradise Pier was one whole complete land, but in 2018 when they made the change, they split it in 2. So the half from the World of Color viewing area all the way around to the end of Incredicoaster is Pixar Pier, and the other half from Silly Symphony Swings all the way to Ariel's Undersea Adventure is Paradise Gardens Park, which we'll talk about later. So it used to be one coherent land around Paradise Bay, and now they split it in 2, which is very messy and incoherent. And on top of that, you look at Pixar Pier as a whole, and they split it they subdivided the land. You're gonna walk by Lamplight Lounge, which is like the generic area of Pixar Pier, and then you're gonna pass the entrance for Incredicoaster. That's like the Incredibles neighborhood of Pixar Pier. Then you keep walking, you're gonna reach Jessie Critter Carousel and Toy Story Midway Mania. That's considered the Toy Story neighborhood of Pixar Pier. You keep walking, and then you're back into another generic Pixar Promenade area, which is messy because you already walked through a generic Pixar themed area of Pixar Pier. And then you keep walking, you're gonna reach Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind, which is the Inside Out neighborhood of Pixar Pier. So the fact that this land is subdivided into 3 or 4 different mini lands is very jumbled, very incoherent. It's lacking cohesive storytelling, which contributes to a disjointed atmosphere, in my opinion. And you throw on top of that all the colors that they added, I think are really ugly. I really, really miss the blue scream tubes. The solid red scream tubes on Incredicoaster look terrible, in my opinion. There's just so many problems that I have with Pixar Pier. I love California Screamin' as a ride experience, as a layout. I'm very nostalgic for it. That ride is probably why I'm a roller coaster enthusiast and not just a fan of Disney and Universal parks. So I have a very deep connection to this ride because of that, but I hate the Incredicoaster overlay. I think it's god awful. I really tore into Incredicoaster in that video that I mentioned earlier. I hate static figures on this attraction. Worst offenders are the Elastigirl during the second Scream Tube. She's plastered on the wall and she looks terrible. They also have babies on sticks during those 2 bunny hills. Also, probably the worst effect in Disney history. And on top of that, they just shoved Violet's head on top of the end of the 3rd Scream Tube so you can see her decapitated body. I guess her decapitated head just attached to the top of the Scream Tube when you pass it earlier in the layout. So overall, it's terrible. There's no animatronics, even though there's 2 perfectly staged areas that should have animatronics at both the beginning and the end of the attraction, but no, even those are static figures, so it's just terrible. The colors are bad, the soundtrack is a major downgrade. Like, I love Michael Giacchino, I love the Incredibles score, but it was never gonna be better than the score that was designed specifically for the California Screamin' layout. I miss the California Screamin' music so much. It's not even funny. The biggest upside of Incredicoaster is that the smell of the cookies is at the top of the lift hill for the attraction, and there's a cookie stand outside of the exit. So I kind of like that is tied in together. I think that's kind of cute. And of course, Jack loves cookies. But other than that, I think the entire switch from California Screamin' to Incredicoaster was terrible. Also, the name Incredicoaster is terrible. It's so bad. You couldn't think of a better name for an Incredibles roller coaster than Incredicoaster? Like, come on. Oh my gosh, I want to drive my head through a wall talking about Pixar Pier. This is not even funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, the Toy Story area is probably the best. I'm not a fan of Jessie being a massive static figure, but that's fine. It would have worked better if it was like the Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios where there were a bunch of them. But Jessie's just off on her own. I do love the kinetic energy of the pier area. That's part of the reason why I loved Paradise Pier so much. Like, there was just so much happening. You had the roller coaster trains zooming around. The wheel, which Pixar Pal Around is such a stupid name, just like Incredicoaster. I hate it. Mickey's Fun Wheel was a way better name, and before that, Sun Wheel was an even better name. But even when the wheel isn't turning, it's a coaster wheel, so you have swinging gondolas. So even when the wheel is stationary, you still have kinetic energy, which is really, really cool. I love that. And before Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind was there used to be an SNS drop tower called Maliboomer, which obviously had kinetic energy. Emotional Whirlwind is fine. It provides kinetic energy when you're walking by it, but it's kind of difficult to see it when you're outside of that helix for Incredicoaster. But it's definitely better than nothing, which is what it was for the longest time. Like, it used to just be a smoking area for like a decade. Not great. But Emotional Whirlwind is just a re-themed Flix Flyers. So, and it's also like the it's the fourth spinning ride in the pier area, because you have Golden Zephyr, you have Silly Symphony Swings, you have Jesse's Critter Carousel, and then they just added this fourth one. Like, what does this ride bring to this area? And my answer is nothing. So I'm not a fan of Pixar Pier. This was really, really, really hard to rank because I used to love this area of the park so much. I'm obviously way more passionate about Pixar Pier than I am about Hollywoodland, Buena Vista Street, or San Francisco, but part of that is because of how flawed it is, you know? So I put it dead center. I put it 5th place. Because it had potential. It fulfilled its potential. The greatest analogy I've ever heard comparing Paradise Pier to Pixar Pier is equating Paradise Pier to a very high quality vanilla ice cream cone. When they originally made the announcement that Paradise Pier was becoming Pixar Pier, I was really, really sad because I was like, they're changing my favorite area. But eventually I like hyped myself up. I was like, they're not changing it, they're adding on top of it. So how this should be better, right? You know? But when Pixar Pier opened, instead of a really nice vanilla ice cream cone, we got a really bad, really low quality chocolate ice cream cone. So it's chocolate, which if you ask anyone reasonable is way better than vanilla. It's way, way, way lower in quality. And in terms of the piers, I miss the very high quality vanilla ice cream cone, you know? Paradise Pier, when it first opened, had the Mickey Mouse on top of California Screamin' right behind the loop, which was really, really cool. When they did their refresh for DCA in the 2010s and the early 2010s, the wheel and the coaster switched. So Mickey went on the wheel, and then the sun went to the coaster. And then when Pixar Pier opened in 2018, they replaced the sun with this really ugly brown background. It has the Pixar ball, but it's really gross. Like, the red lettering on the brown background is nasty in my opinion. Like, I don't know why they didn't just make the whole thing one massive Luxo ball. Come on. Oh my gosh. I could talk about this land for way too long. I already have talked about this land for way too long in both this video and the review video. It's been on my channel for like a year. So in terms of attractions, I ranked Pixar Pier 2nd because it has 2 major e-tickets, which are Toy Story Midway Mania, which is a fantastic shooting dark ride. It's probably one of the best shooting dark rides out there, and Incredicoaster, which, as opinionated as I am about it, it's still a really big roller coaster. It's by far the biggest coaster at the Disneyland Resort. And it's a very long attraction as well, even if it does have a butt ton of crummy theming slapped on top of it. And Pixar Pier is also tied for the most attractions at California Adventure in terms of lands, so that is pretty impressive. In terms of food, there's really not much at Pixar Pier. Like, they have a chicken stand themed to one of those Toy Story shorts, which is kind of cute. They have a hot dog stand, I'm not a big hot dog person, as I mentioned, so I don't even know if I've ever tried that. The big sit-down restaurant is Lamplight Lounge. When I go to theme parks, I go for the rides. I don't really go for sit-down restaurants. Like, they're nice if you need a break and you're willing to pay for it, but that's not the type of guest that I am, so it's kind of hard to judge sit-down restaurants when I don't go to them that often at theme parks. So that's why it doesn't rank that high. In terms of atmosphere, I ranked it 7 out of 8. Because, like I said, it's very cluttered. The fact that they split the pier in half is awful. The fact that the pier, Pixar Pier itself, is divided into 4 different sub-lands is also really messy. Like, there's no other land that has anything like that. And that's for a reason, you know? It's because it's stupid. And then in terms of theming, I also ranked Pixar Pier 7 out of 8 because it was very cheaply and very poorly done. Just take a look at any of the effects on Incredicoaster. Oh my gosh. I could talk about this land for so long. I'm probably missing major criticisms that I have of this area, but I really feel like I gotta move on. So we're going to talk about the other side of the pier, number 4, Paradise Gardens Park. I actually just made a review video for this half of the pier. It's a very strange area because it is Paradise Pier. It's what's left of Paradise Pier. They did not change this corner of the park. So it is tied with Pixar Pier for the most amount of attractions in any land in California Adventure with 5. We got Ariel's Undersea Adventure, which is a very cute dark ride. I actually have a commentary video for that attraction, so if you haven't checked that out, you should do so. We got the Golden Zephyr, which is really fun. We got Silly Symphony Swings, which is also a really cute and fun spinning attraction. We got Jumpin' Jellyfish, which is really, really cute. I'm nostalgic for all of these rides because I rode them a ton as a kid. And then we also have Goofy Sky School, which is the second roller coaster at DCA. And even though it is just an off-the-shelf mock Wild Mouse, I really like it. I think it's cute. But when you put it all together and you take away the other half of the pier, which Pixar Pier did, you're left with a very strange themed area because you have 2 attractions themed to the Mickey and Friends with Goofy Sky School and Silly Symphony Swings, and then you have like 2 classic California Adventure attractions, which are Jumpin' Jellyfish and Golden Zephyr, which are still the only 2 rides that are themed that still have their original 2001 Paradise Pier theming, which is just hilarious. And then you have a dark ride themed to The Little Mermaid. Like, I don't understand how any of that makes any sense together, and the answer is it doesn't. But it's still a very charming area to walk around, and I am nostalgic for Paradise Pier, so part of me is happy that it still exists to some degree, but I don't even know. It's just so incoherent. It's lost. It's like Disney forgot about this area, but they didn't, because this is like the backup to the Hollywood back lot. So they also use this corner of the park for like temporary celebrations, seasonal events, whatever the Disney corporate machine wants to promote. So that also worsens the atmosphere for Paradise Gardens Park, because it's just like they change it up whenever they feel like it, you know? There's nothing permanent or special about Paradise Gardens Park if they're just slapping whatever they want onto the themed land. So it's a very interesting corner of California Adventure, so you should go check out that video that I mentioned if you haven't already. So in terms of attractions, I ranked it 5th out of 8, because even though it has the most, there's not really, I wouldn't say there's an e-ticket. As much as I love Goofy Sky School and Ariel's Undersea Adventure, I recognize that it's not quite at the e-ticket level. They're still really good rides in my opinion. I definitely like those 2 rides more than most people, but it just doesn't have that wow factor that most e-tickets have. And the other rides are just kind of filler, spinny family rides, you know? Like, if you have enough time, you can do it. A guest is not going to be heartbroken if they don't get to ride Jumpin' Jellyfish when they go to DCA, you know? No offense to Jumpin' Jellyfish. Me and that ride go way back. In terms of food, I ranked it 3rd. I think there are some pretty solid options. You have Paradise Garden Grill, and you also have Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta, which I really enjoy. In my review video for Paradise Gardens Park, I completely forgot to mention Corn Dog Castle. That's because, along with hot dogs, I'm not a big corn dog person, so I don't eat Disneyland corn dogs because I don't like them, but that's just me. I know a lot of people love Disneyland corn dogs, and they're the exact same that they have at Disneyland Park. So if you're a big Disneyland corn dog person, head over to Paradise Gardens Park. But I do kind of like that food court area. Like, that's a nice place to like relax and just take a chill pill. So in terms of atmosphere, I ranked Paradise Gardens Park 2nd out of 8. I love the area music loop for Paradise Gardens Park. It's so good. I love it. It's like, I don't know, it's like it's part of the soundtrack of my childhood, you know? I go back and I listen to the Paradise Gardens Park area loop on YouTube, like whenever I can, whenever I feel like it. It's such a good vibe. It's like such a good energy. So that really contributes to atmosphere. Of course, all the kinetic energy is really impressive. And I am very, very nostalgic for Paradise Pier. And obviously that nostalgia kind of fuels my love for the energy and the atmosphere of Paradise Gardens Park. It's a very interesting thing because for theming, I ranked it dead last. I ranked it 8 out of 8 because, as I said, it doesn't really make any sense when you put it all together. Like, I feel like it made sense when the pier was one coherent land around Paradise Bay. Paradise Gardens Park as is probably the most poorly themed land at the entire park, but I love walking around it. So I don't know if that's a me problem. I don't know if what I'm trying to say makes any sense, but that's the way I feel. I feel like the theming is really poor, but the energy, the atmosphere of Paradise Gardens Park is unreal. I love it. So that's a very strange combination of rankings, but that's the way that I feel. I hope I've expressed my opinion in the correct way that makes sense. But very similar to Pixar Pier, this was a very, very difficult land to rank because it's not a land, it's half of a land. It's half of what it used to be. It's half of my favorite land, and they really haven't changed it much. So how do you rank a chicken if you cut its head off, you know? Like, I'm tired. One other major thing I have to mention about Paradise Gardens Park is that this is the themed land that technically has the viewing area for World of Color, which is California Adventure's Nighttime Spectacular. That's a big boost to the ranking of Paradise Gardens Park because World of Color is one of California Adventure's best offerings. At the time of this recording, California Adventure is about to debut World of Color Happiness for the 70th anniversary of Disneyland Park. For the last couple years, they've been running World of Color 1, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I actually have a review video for that already on the channel. And the original World of Color is still my favorite iteration of the show. At the time of this recording, I have not seen World of Color Happiness. I'm hoping that'll be my favorite, but we'll see. I'm very, very doubtful though. Alright, let's leave the pier. We're moving on to the top 3. You know, all of these lands were really hard to rank, because number 3 is Avengers Campus, and I have a very complicated relationship with Avengers Campus as well. It's very strange. The most popular video on my channel is my review video for Avengers Campus, which is absolutely insane and has over 200,000 views, which is absolutely mind-boggling. I can't comprehend that. And I had a really difficult time ranking Avengers Campus. 3 sounds really high, but since they worsened both halves of the pier, that's why it's up so high. I just couldn't find it in me to rank either Pixar Pier or Paradise Gardens Park ahead of Avengers Campus. And Avengers Campus is also really, really carried by one of my favorite rides of all time, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. That ride is absolutely spectacular. It's one of my favorite rides ever. Like, no hyperbole. It's so much fun. It's pure fun. In my opinion, it's one of Disney's masterpieces. It's the perfect blend of thrills and theming. I think it's a very, very immersive story. It's such a well done attraction. The airtime is spectacular with the very minimal seatbelt restraints. It's absolutely fantastic. There's such a good energy. The music is incredible. It's such a fun ride. It's so good. It's so hard to express how much I love this attraction. So a lot of Avengers Campus is absolutely carried by Mission Breakout. And obviously, I don't even have to talk about Spider-Man, and I can tell you that in terms of attractions, Avengers Campus ranks 1 out of 8 solely because of the existence of Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. In my opinion, it's way better than Tower of Terror. I think it crushes Tower of Terror. And I'm a big Haunted Mansion person, and I think Mission Breakout is better than Tower of Terror. It's so fun. You gotta do it at some point. Like, I've been on this ride way too many times. I've gotten all 6 songs so many times. The combination of different ride films with the different drop sequences just makes it so re-rideable, and the fact that it is a thrill ride that has airtime on its own that is re-rideable, you know? So it makes me want to do it so often, and you combine that with a really high energy, and it's just addicting. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. In terms of food, I ranked Avengers Campus 2nd out of 8. The main restaurant in Avengers Campus is Pim Test Kitchen, and it has a lot of cute size gags because it's an Ant-Man restaurant, so I think it's fun. And a few of the offerings are pretty good, in my opinion. Like, I love their chicken sandwich, which is just like tenderloin. I think it's really good. They also have a few shawarma stands scattered around Avengers Campus. Those are pretty good as well, but nothing like insane. It's just good theme park food, in my opinion. In terms of atmosphere, I ranked Avengers Campus 6 out of 8. A lot of the buildings are pretty ugly in my opinion, and also one of my biggest problems with Avengers Campus is the music. If you walk into Avengers Campus, sometimes they're just blasting the Avengers theme, which doesn't make any sense. It's like completely unearned, because the Avengers theme is supposed to be playing when something heroic is happening. So when you're just walking into a themed land, it's just like, what, you know? And when they're not playing the Avengers theme, they're playing other themes from other Marvel films, like the Spider-Man theme, the Ant-Man theme, the Guardians of the Galaxy theme. I think I've heard the Captain Marvel theme. Maybe it's the Captain Marvel theme. I think it's the Captain Marvel theme. I don't even know. So in terms of theming, I ranked Avengers Campus 5 out of 8. I think it was well executed, but my problem with Avengers Campus in terms of theming was the pitch. Why did they theme a land to a campus, you know? Like, a lot of people work on a campus of some kind. Any student ever goes to school on a campus of some kind. So why on earth would our escape from our school, from our workplace, be another campus? You know, that doesn't make any sense. That was a really stupid pitch, and I can't believe they went with it. Like, the Avengers Campus concept on paper was just flawed from the beginning. And there were definitely some problems with execution, but not as many as Pixar Pier. I've barely talked about the Spider-Man ride because it's really not great. Like, in my opinion, it's a one and done, but it does get a solid wait time because it is a Spider-Man ride and because it is family friendly. In my opinion, even though this is the newest shooting dark ride at the resort, it is by far the weakest. It's just not that fun. It's pretty short. The AI voice is really annoying. It could have been so much better. Like, the Spider-Man ride at Islands of Adventure absolutely kicks this ride's butt. It's kind of insulting. We could have had such a better Spider-Man ride. But my hopes for the future of Avengers Campus are pretty high. I'm really excited for these expansions. I really hope that Avengers Infinity Defense is a dark ride on the same level of Rise of the Resistance. I really hope that this is going to be one of DCA's best attractions. So my excitement for the future is part of the reason why this land ranks higher than you probably thought it would. But we're going to move on to number 2, which is Grizzly Peak. This feels like a breath of fresh air after talking about Pixar Pier and Avengers Campus, because this land has like barely been touched since it opened. This land has 2 incredible attractions with Grizzly River Run and Soarin' Over California / Soarin' Around the World. It's usually Soarin' Around the World. They bring back Over California as an overlay for the Food and Wine Festival, which I think is really smart. I enjoy both ride films, but I know a lot of Disney fans prefer Over California by a lot. I think both are really good, and Soarin' is absolutely one of the best attractions at California Adventure. It was the park's savior when it first opened in 2001. It was like the big redeeming quality of it. But Grizzly Peak is so chill. It's such a wonderful energy. I love walking around Grizzly Peak. The kinetic energy of the rafts is beautiful. I love just hanging out and watching them. They have a viewing area right next to the big drop for Grizzly River Run, which I adore. I think that's amazing. They have a bunch of geysers, so watching people's reaction is just beautiful. That's like Disney magic in my opinion. I really enjoy that. And since this land has opened, these trees have really grown in. Like, when California Adventure first opened, the big icon for the park was the Grizzly Mount. Like, it was in the park's logo, it was in all the advertisements, dominated the park. But since the trees have grown in, it's kind of been hidden. Like, sometimes it's easy to walk around DCA and forget that that mountain is even there. It's a massive grizzly bear, but it's really hidden, which I think kind of adds to the mystique of it these days, which I kind of like. And they're also using Mickey Mouse on the wheel as the park's icon these days, which is another thing I forgot to mention about Pixar Pier. It doesn't make any sense that the icon for the park is in Pixar Pier, but Mickey Mouse is not a Pixar character, so why is he on? Anyway, In terms of attractions, I rank Grizzly Peak 3 out of 8. I think these two are both great attractions. I think they support each other very well. They're very, very different, and it makes sense to be in this area of the park. Because like the Grizzly Airfield, that's really beautiful. That's a cool corner of the park. In terms of food, it actually ranks dead last. It ranks 8 out of 8. The big food place in Grizzly Peak is called Smoke Jumper's Grill, and it's like the DCA's burger place. I'm not a fan of Disney burgers. A lot of theme park burgers are just straight up bad. Disney burgers aren't any better in my opinion. But in terms of atmosphere, it's top of the list. I love the energy of Grizzly Peak. It's beautiful, it's shaded. The kinetic energy of the rafts is such a vibe. It's such a peaceful area. It kind of feels like Grizzly Peak was ahead of its time, because these days, like, hotels that are ingrained with a theme park are like the hot new thing. Like Epic Universe is opening right now with a massive hotel as like the park's backdrop. But the Grand Californian has been bordering Grizzly Peak since 2001, and obviously the Grand Californian is by far the nicest hotel at the Disneyland Resort, so it's really cool that it's right there. I feel like the existence of that hotel also contributes to the relaxing atmosphere of Grizzly Peak. It's such a healthy and nice environment to be in. Very peaceful. In terms of theming, it ranks 2 out of 8. This land benefits from the Michael Eisner philosophy of being immersive without requiring a lot of investment. The trees just grew, and I love it, you know? It's kind of crazy. Like, along with kinetic energy, I feel like nature is also very important for any theme park to have. It is a theme park, so just having trees at a theme park is great, you know? Water, that's also another very important aspect, which is why I love the Rivers of America. It's why I loved Paradise Bay, specifically when it was Paradise Pier. And it's also part of the reason why I love Pandora. The use of water in that land is really well done. Even Animal Kingdom as a whole uses water really well. And I love that park. So yeah, Grizzly Peak, even though it did not require that much effort, in terms of theming, it ranks second place. But we're gonna move on to number 1. This was probably not that hard to guess. It is Cars Land. Now, I have a very interesting relationship with Cars Land, because you know me, you know this channel, you know that I don't like Radiator Springs Racers. I think it is completely overrated. I don't think it deserves the wait times or the hype that it gets. It's a mid-tier attraction that is treated like the greatest thing ever. It's just not. So even though I'm not a big fan of this land's e-ticket, I think it is still very well done. This was like in the early stages of the hyper immersive themed lands. So Cars Land has a beautiful backdrop. The rock work, when you walk into the land from the San Francisco entrance, it's absolutely jaw-dropping. That's an unreal reveal. And obviously one of the other main entrances is just walking down Route 66, which is pretty cool. It's just like straight out of the movies. All of the characters have their own little house or their little shop. Like Mater has his junkyard, and that's Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, which is a really cute, really fun spinning family ride. I love it. It has a lot of fun laterals. Flo's V8 Cafe is the major restaurant in Cars Land. It used to be way better than it is now. I remember thinking it was really good, but I think the quality has downgraded over the last 5-10 years, which is a shame. I don't eat there nearly as often as I used to. Sarge has a gift shop. Fillmore has like a drink stand. Sally's Cozy Cones are like little snack stands. Luigi's Tire Shop is Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters, which is another trackless ride at the Disneyland Resort. But instead of being like a hyper immersive dark ride, this is just like a cute family outdoor spinny ride. Like, it's fine. It used to be Luigi's Flying Tires, which is probably one of the biggest failures in theme park history in terms of attractions. I got to ride Luigi's Flying Tires a few times, and that was a disaster. It was kind of funny to look back on. And then around the corner, you have the entrance for Radiator Springs Racers. So those 3 attractions put Cars Land 4 out of 8. They're fine, you know. Mater and Luigi like serve their purpose as supporting family attractions at California Adventure, and in my opinion, the e-ticket is pretty disappointing. In terms of food, I also rank Cars Land 4 out of 8. As I said, the quality of Flo's V8 Cafe has really fallen off a cliff. It used to be so good, and now it's just not. In terms of atmosphere, I rank Cars Land 3 out of 8. There's a good energy. One of the best things they do in terms of atmosphere is when the sun goes down and the neon lights turn on fun for Radiator Springs. They play Shaboom, which is really cute. That's straight out of the movie, and that's really, really cute. And obviously, for theming, it ranks 1 out of 8 because the rock work is so impressive. It is probably the most immersive land for California Adventure, at least in terms of a theme that it was not cheap and easy to make immersive, you know, like Grizzly Peak or Hollywoodland. And that is my opinion on all of the theme lands of Disney California Adventure. Before we wrap up, we're going to dig into the 4 categories that we talked about and rank each land based on each category, because I know it's difficult to keep track of these rankings while we're talking about each individual land. So let's start off with attraction. The best land for attractions at California Adventure is Avengers Campus, which is carried by Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, which is one of my favorite rides of all time. Absolutely an incredible ride experience. And for good measure, we have Spider-Man Webslingers, a Spider-Man Adventure as a supporting attraction, which is fun. Number 2 is Pixar Pier, which is tied with Paradise Gardens Park for the most amount of attractions at California Adventure, and it also has 2 e-tickets with Toy Story Midway Mania and Incredicoaster. And in terms of supporting attractions, you got Pixar Pal Around, Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind, and Jesse's Critter Carousel. For number 3, we have Grizzly Peak, which has 2 amazing e-tickets with Grizzly River Run and Soarin'. Those are both classic California Adventure attractions. And number 4, we have Cars Land, which is home to the most overrated ride of all time, and 2 other really fun supporting family attractions with Mater's Junkyard Jamboree and Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters. At number 5 is Paradise Gardens Park, which just like Pixar Pier has 5 attractions, but this land is lacking an e-ticket, even though I am a big fan of Ariel's Undersea Adventure and Goofy's Sky School, and I am really nostalgic for the supporting attractions, which are Jumpin' Jellyfish, Silly Symphony Swings, and the Golden Zephyr. Number 6 is Hollywoodland, which is the lowest ranking land with an attraction, because I am not a fan of Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue at all. And tied for last is Buena Vista Street and San Francisco Square, because they have none. In terms of food, number 1 is of course the food court, San Francisco Square. It would be pretty bad if this land did not rank number 1 for food, because that's all it does. Number 2 is Avengers Campus, because I love Pym Test Kitchen. Number 3 is Paradise Gardens Park, because it has like a baby food court, and I'm a big fan of Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta. Number 4 is Cars Land. This could have been so much better if they didn't ruin Flo's V8 Cafe. When Cars Land first opened, the menu and the food quality was way higher at Flo's. Number 5 is Pixar Pier. There's really nothing to eat here aside from the sit-down restaurant, which I've only been to like once or twice. Number 6 is Buena Vista Street, which is kind of in the same boat as Pixar Pier. Have not been to Carthay Circle in years. Number 7 is Hollywoodland with the hot dog place. So I'm not a hot dog person, but you also have the Studio Catering Company in the back lot. And number 8 is Grizzly Peak, which has California Adventures burger place called Smoke Jumpers Grill. In terms of land atmosphere, number 1 is Grizzly Peak. It's an absolutely peaceful and wonderful land to walk around. I love watching the rafts in Grizzly River Run. Number 2 is Paradise Gardens Park. I'm really nostalgic for that Paradise Pier energy, and to some degree it's still alive within Paradise Gardens Park, and I like live for that. I love the area loop, as I mentioned earlier. Number 3 is Cars Land. The rock work is insane. When they play Shaboom after sunset, that's like really fun. That's really cute. That creates a good energy within Cars Land. It's always one of the busiest lands as well, so that contributes to a lively atmosphere. Number 4 is Buena Vista Street. Obviously, it's always crowded because it's the entrance area. It always feels like there's something happening within Buena Vista Street. There's always an entertainer of some sort just wandering around, so that's cool. Number 5 is Hollywoodland. This area would probably rank higher if the backlot didn't suck, so that's what's holding it back. Number 6 is Avengers Campus. I've really discussed my problems with Avengers Campus's atmosphere in that review video that I mentioned earlier in this video. Number 7 is Pixar Pier. Once again, I have a full review video for this land, so I recommend that you check that out because I dig into many of the problems that I have with this land's atmosphere in that video, and of course I've covered it extensively in this video. And number 8 is San Francisco Square because of the annoying area loop and the theming that was just kind of tacked on to Pacific Wharf. Speaking of theming, number 1 is Cars Land. I really don't think I need an explanation for this. The rock work is jaw-dropping. It's very highly detailed. It's by far the most immersive land at California Adventure. Number 2 is Grizzly Peak. which is a beautiful land to walk around in. It is really immersive, and Disney really didn't have to do much to make that happen. They just planted a lot of trees and they built a raft ride, and it's one of the most pleasant areas in the entire resort to walk around. Number 3 is Buena Vista Street. It's very pristine, very well kept. I appreciate it as the entrance area for California Adventure. Number 4 is Hollywood Land. Just like Grizzly Peak, this is probably one of the easiest lands to make immersive because Hollywood is not that difficult of a theme, but the backlot is definitely a hot mess. Moving on to number 5 is Avengers Campus. A lot of the buildings in this land are just straight up ugly, in my opinion, and it doesn't really work well together. Number 6 is San Francisco Square. The bridge is definitely the highest quality element in terms of theming for this food court. Other than that, it was just a cheap overlay of Pacific Wharf. Number 7 is Pixar Pier, which is just a hot mess. They did not put nearly enough work into this pier to transform it into something special. Not a fan of this crummy chocolate ice cream cone. And number 8 is Paradise Gardens Park, because it's kind of in no man's land. Like, it doesn't really make sense on its own. It's half of Paradise Pier, it's the weaker half of Paradise Pier, and it's still there on its own, fighting for its life. And that is my opinion on every single land, every single aspect at California Adventure. Oh my gosh, I am tired. Before I start editing this video, the recording length has been over an hour, so I've been yapping for so long. Please like this video, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers, so I would greatly appreciate your support. I'd also love if you shared this video. I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will catch you later.